Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're here with Nicole Grinstead, aka NerdGirl007, as you may know her by. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things today: crypto maximalism, energy FUD, living unbanked, how you can do that as well with crypto. We're going to dive into a bunch of this stuff, but first, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm glad that we got the chance to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who aren't familiar with yourself, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into crypto originally?
Sure. Yeah. In 2016, I was dating someone who was like just completely obsessed with cryptocurrency and specifically with Ethereum. Like, in fact, like the DAO hack had just happened. And he was like talking about quitting his job so that he could put the rest of his 401k into Ethereum, like after, 2/3 of its value and overnight. And that's when I realized that something like really significant was happening. And I had already been paying attention a little bit before that, but just that was when it really occurred to me that what was going on must be significant. And that I should be paying attention. So I started reading about cryptocurrency, and it was like 6 months later that I bought my own cryptocurrency for the first time, and that I was like, I really want to get involved in, sort of taking a really different approach than what I saw anyone doing at the time, because I had dropped out of a PhD program in religious studies. That's really like a sociology, anthropology degree. And I didn't really see anyone taking like that approach to cryptocurrency at that time. And I was just really curious about it. And that's where it all started.
Awesome. What was Ethereum valued back then when you got in? Like it was really low, right?
It was around $10.
Wow, that's wild. Because I remember finding it originally when it was around like $100 or something, and I wasn't actually into crypto at the time, but I told my buddy, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, like I'll buy a bunch of that," and he made a ton of money, and then I didn't get in until like way later, unfortunately for me. So, what is your approach to investing in crypto, and like how do you decide to actually invest in something? Is it like use case, fundamentals? What does that look like for you?
So yeah, I think that I do this like, I don't know, differently, but I follow controversy. So like whenever there's a coin or a token that, like a large group of people is talking, saying not to buy, it's not like I immediately go out and buy it, but that's what makes me want to be interested in something. So because then I'm like, well, why? Saying not to buy this. And when I can't find a like really solid, good reason, then I buy it. So when I got into cryptocurrency, I got in with Ethereum. And at the time that was, 2016, when there were way fewer cryptocurrencies around. So we think of like tribalism as like bad in crypto now, but then communities were just like, so much bigger. Like the original communities were bigger because they were fractured. They weren't fractured yet.
Yeah.
So that was like, it's like everybody's saying that this is the biggest scam ever, and like this seems like it's going to be valuable technology. So I bought it, and obviously like that turned out really well. And so that was kind of like a running theme for me for a while. And then in 2019, when I started working for a crypto media outlet that was like, news, everybody at the time, like the most hated coin in all of cryptocurrency had to be BSV, because like they had just forked from Bitcoin Cash, which was already like its own thing that most people hated, even though they didn't have a really good reason for. So I was working for the media place, and they didn't want to pay for my ticket to go because I wanted to interview Craig Wright. Yeah. But I really wanted to go. So I bought that coin right after Binance delisted it, because it was like just all of the signs of market manipulation were there. So the Binance delisted the coin, and it fell to like $43 or $47 or something. Within a couple of weeks, it had pumped to over 200. And so I like fully funded my whole trip with that purchase. And then obviously, and probably several people who are watching this now know that like I like Hex, and I've done really well with that investment, even though that may be the currently most hated coin in crypto, and definitely was, a year and a half ago.
Yeah, now I think it's gonna be clout, but that's a whole other situation. So, what are your thoughts on like Hex? Like, what do you say to Hex disbelievers, and what's kind of your thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, I really want to talk to you about, like, because I know that your perspective on this has changed. So I really want to talk to you about this, like, I don't know, wherever it fits. But generally, like, when people dislike it, I don't even like really try to change people's mind, because like that's not productive. But what I do try to ask is, like, what are your reasons for disliking it? And when the only reasons that they can give me are the ones that have been like repeated and repeated and repeated, but like aren't, just like it's what everybody else is saying, then I'm like, this person is just mirroring what other people are saying, like, without actually giving it any individual thought. And then I guess I usually get into like, your reasons for disliking it have to do with negative media coverage of it, and, negative coverage of it from crypto influencers. And like, for one thing, we're all starting to realize, not all crypto influencers, not all the time, but like there's a massive amount of like misinformation in the media, in crypto media, in the media outside of cryptocurrency. And like, I mean, there was just a few weeks ago, someone made a video about how, whales will hire PR agents to like FUD projects so that they can snatch more, of it up, and then like, or because they hate it, or, whatever. And then like, it just then they'll, after it starts to get some like whatever reputable coverage from places like Forbes and whatever crypto outlets, then it becomes easier to convince like big, large tier influencers to say, oh, well, this magazine or this publication said this about it, so that must be true. And so then they're fine with like being paid to say negative things about it. And then from there, it's just this whole snowball effect, because people believe what other people say, like by default, even people who are skeptical, even people who are like trust, or verify, don't trust, verify. It's just like a natural human reaction. And like, the more that it snowballs, the like easier it is to keep going and the harder it is to stop. So I usually try to like remind people that, because people are aware, at least in the back of their minds, that there's massive amount of disinformation in the media, not just the crypto media, but everywhere. So I usually try to remind people that it's possible. And then I just ask, like, is it possible that you were manipulated into believing what you believe? Not were you manipulated into believing what you believe, but do you think that there's any possible chance that you may have been manipulated? And I mean, like, any reasonable person can't deny that there's a chance they were manipulated, right?
Yeah, unless you do your own research. But I think it's kind of funny, like you said, where it's like, don't trust, verify, or, do your own research. They're kind of like a more just like a disclaimer now than an actual like advice. Like, people don't actually trust, verify. They don't actually look at the blockchain. They don't actually do a lot of these things. They don't actually do their own research. These are just like disclaimers that people just kind of like throw just to like protect themselves. So yeah, I could definitely see that.
Well, so I want to throw something else in here, right here. Okay, sure. So like, there was a time, I don't know, 6 months or a year ago or something, when I was trying to convince like Sam Dodson to just read this, just read this. And he refusing to do it. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, everybody has to do their own research. And I'm like, well, did you do your own research? No, but Scott Cunningham came on my show and he said all of this. And I'm like, so you're actually relying on somebody else's research. Like, you realize that does not qualify as doing your own research. And he was like, yes, it does. And I was like, no, it really doesn't.
Yeah, no, and then that's absolutely true. I mean, I have my own opinion, but I don't necessarily, think people should say, like, just because I said it, that's like, that's factually true or that's objectively true. But yeah, I mean, I do have the perspective that, like, I'm not a fan of Hex. I mean, if we were really going to get like super comprehensive about this, I'd probably have to like bring up my article and like go through like each of the like points. But
No, we should actually do this on my show, though.
Okay, yeah. Well, we can save like the majority of the hex stuff, and I'll re-go through it and make sure I actually like remember what I'm talking about, because
I want to brush up on it all too, so that like not because let's
I mean, like, I wrote the article like a year and a half ago, so it's been quite some time, and I haven't really been like going after hex lately. It's all about like BitClout, SoMe, and a little bit of theta. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on those three?
Like, I know that you're really big on this, social media, like the, decentralized social media, crypto social media, but I'm just like not. I kind of was before, and I really was before I started, focusing on hex, but I just I'm not focused on it. There's just not like, I mean, I use Publish 0x, and like I'm on, read.cash, and like I've used several platforms, but I'm just not like huge into any of that.
So what's it like living unbanked with crypto? What is that process like? How did you start to get into that? And like, what are some things that you use and make that happen?
Sure. Yeah. So in, February of 2020, I moved money like from a wallet that I had to Coinbase. I moved Bitcoin to Coinbase, sold. It was like $3,000 worth of Bitcoin, put it in my bank account. My bank account shut me down.
Wow.
And it was it was over like $2,000 or $3,000. And I was like, for one thing, the bank, I had moved recently, so like the bank that I used wasn't in my state, so it was like not easy for me to go in, and sitting on the phone calls with them forever is just, horrible. And I was like, you know what? Like, if they're going to close down my account over this really small amount of money, like, isn't that your sign that you need to not be reliant on these financial institutions that can do that to you? Like, isn't that the purpose of, a Bitcoin, of cryptocurrency anyway? So I decided that was like, this is what the world is trying to tell me. So I just, was like, fine, close down my account, and,
wow.
yeah. So, I know like a lot of people like Joel have like, much more intricate stories where they planned and were like, whatever, like very well prepared, and using Dash and, daily transactions and all that stuff. Like, I'm not that advanced. I just like, so I get paid in cryptocurrency. Like, I work in the cryptocurrency industry. And I just, every month take out what I need to live on, and I put it into cash, like and then I just transact in cash. And then if I need to order stuff online, I guess like now I'm not even really unbanked anymore because I have a Venmo debit card. So like I'll just move, whatever the asset that I'm paid trade it into Bitcoin, move it to the Cash App, then switch it into dollars, then move it to Venmo, and then I use my Venmo part. But I try to just like leave just enough that I can get away with like online transactions, but not like tons in there. I guess that technically means that Venmo is my bank. But now Venmo added cryptocurrency, so soon you'll be able to like deposit. Like soon I'll be able to just send it directly to. But yeah.
I mean, like, it's so interesting how people get into spending crypto and like living off of it. How well, I guess you said like that process was very, very strenuous. For people who would listen to that and say, well, that sounds like so complicated, would you say that the complexity or the like resistance is actually kind of a good thing? Because for me, I spend a lot of my crypto as well, since I earn crypto and things as well. So I buy things on Amazon or whatever. I get new gear or whatever it happens to be. I'll buy it with crypto. But I actually find that the resistance, that little extra work that I have to put in, makes me like think more conscientiously about the purchases I'm making. And I'm more, and you also, when you have crypto, it kind of forces you to be like, okay, well, do I really want this thing? Because my Bitcoin could be worth way more in like a week. So this purchase will have been way more as well. And do I really want to do that? I feel like it kind of forces people to have better financial like practices in their own life. Do you agree with that? And what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, 100%. Like my spending is so, I mean, like not that I was ever really like, crazy outlandish spender, but like because there is just like, I'm like, oh, like not even really like, I mean, yes, the thought of like, do I really want to spend this crypto when it could, when I believe that it will be worth so much more, down the line, that absolutely occurs to me. But it's also just like the extra steps that you have to go through to spend crypto, directly on Amazon, or because I have to move money, 3 different places before I can directly use my debit card. Like, yeah, for sure that curved spending, like I can't even say how like incredibly grateful I am for the money that I have not spent over the last 2 years.
Yeah. And I feel like it really forces people to change their perspective, especially when it's like you buy a coffee and then a week later you're like, damn, that coffee cost me like $30. And then people start to really like change their spending habits. So what are like some different things that you use to buy goods? I know you said you mostly don't like go the Joel Valenzuela route, but is there any things that you use? Like, have you ever used like Bitrefill or any kind of like services or apps that make it easier to spend crypto?
Yeah, sure. So there's like shopping.io, and it's like really similar to purse.io, which like I've used both of those because you can buy, on Amazon or eBay or Walmart.com with crypto and get a discount. So I've used all of those. I've used, I've used like, what's the Lolly?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you get Bitcoin back, but also you can spend Bitcoin. So yeah, I've used Lolly, shopping.io, purse.io. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. And so it's mostly for like buying products online versus like places that accept crypto in person or, like things of that nature.
Yeah. So actually, like I did convince my Botox doctor to accept crypto payments. So like I always pay for services there with crypto, but for the most part, like I just carry cash.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's the easiest way to go. Yeah, here in Canada, it's a lot more strenuous to do so since we're now like, I think it's like 95% digital, which is wild. We're like one of the most digital countries for like how we spend now. Everyone just uses debit cards and credit cards, and barely anyone is using cash anymore over here. So how can someone else get started on like being unbanked, and what would that process look like for them? Because I'm sure a lot of people are like super afraid that like not having a bank is going to like bring up a bunch of issues in their life or, with their job or something. Is there a certain type of person that this works better for? What are your thoughts there?
I guess I mean I don't know if there's a certain kind of person who works better for, like, someone who probably works better for people who like work in cryptocurrency, right? Because just like a little bit more, like, because when you get paid in the asset, then you need to spend it and you're not just like accumulating. So if you have a normal job and you get a paycheck, it would be an extra hurdle to cross, because then it's, you would have to figure out how you're going to deposit your checks and, or whatever, auto pay, whatever. Like, yeah, that would add an extra step for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I would recommend people to check out bitwage.io, because that allows you to they'll even set up a bank account and everything, all this stuff for you, where you can just get paid directly in crypto from your employer, or the employer can set up to pay people in crypto as well. So it works on both sides. And I think that they were talking about a 401k with Bitcoin as well. So they're really trying to cover everything. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on DeFi?
DeFi. I mean, obviously, like I think that it's one of the only like real utilities of blockchain, like really works right now, right? Like, there's all these future potential speculative use cases for blockchain technology, but the only like thing that really people are using right now is decentralized finance, and Ethereum is the current reigning monarch of DeFi, but just like Bitcoin is unlikely to be king forever, Bitcoin or Ethereum may not rule forever.
So you think there's potentially more chance that we'll have like an ETH killer come out of the shadows and kind of take over, or do you what do you think about ETH 2.0 and that whole process?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I think that something's going to kill Ethereum or that I'd like for something to kill Ethereum, but we are seeing so much more like side chains and coins that are interoperable, and there's all of these bridges now that are allowing blockchains to communicate with each other. So why would we think that as these things are continued to develop that there needs to only be that everything that's worthwhile is going to be built on Ethereum when gas fees are high? And yeah, ETH 2.0 is coming. When, right? Because when I got into Ethereum in 2016, Ethereum 2.0 was supposed to be done in 2 years. And so, in 2018, it was like, oh, we're going to be another 2 years. And now we're in 2021. And I'm pretty sure that they just said that it's going to be at least another 18 months, which is pretty much 2 years. So It's I don't know. It's not like I'm against ETH 2.0 launching. I would be very glad, I have a lot of Ethereum. But I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, fair enough. So I guess for people who are kind of thinking that this is just going to keep getting pushed back, for them, it's, go the route of the ETH killers.
Yeah, I don't know about I think, okay, so I watched a couple episodes of your show to prepare for coming on, and the one that you recommended was one with Hashoshi. And I think that he specifically said, something saying that it's the ETH killer has got to be the worst marketing tactic of all time. And I 100% agree with that, right? It's like attacking Bitcoin when you're a brand new coin. You're going to get, they're all going to team up and attack you and you're dead. So, I mean, I think that coins or chains that approach it as we're just a different thing. We're not trying to take market cap from Ethereum. We're just existing on our own are going to fare much better. In fact, I don't know if you're familiar with or aware that Pulse. Have you heard of Pulse Chain?
Only very briefly.
Okay. So it's a fork of not just Ethereum, but a fork of Ethereum and everything built on Ethereum. And so everyone's going to get duplicate copies of their tokens on ETH on Pulse Chain. So I don't know. We'll see, right?
True. Yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think what Hashoshi said was, he's yeah, if you're an ETH killer, I mean, the very basic requirement is that you're a lot better than Ethereum. Because he's I mean, if you come around 8 years later or whatever, it's yeah, I mean, I would hope that it's going to at least have the baseline of it being better than Ethereum, because it's it's already got all this stuff set up. You've got to provide something a lot better than just simply it does, this much more transactions per second or whatever. Though that's obviously important, especially with gas fees being as bad as they were. Luckily, they are down now, but
I know.
So is the price.
Been,
so yeah.
But they're down way more than okay, so Ethereum's down 50% from its all-time high, right?
Yeah.
But gas fees when ETH was 4,500 were hundreds of dollars. There was one time I was trying to stake a really small amount of this random coin, and it wanted over $1,000.
Yeah.
No. But now, I mean, now gas fees are, I don't know, I moved some ETH today, and it was 75 cents. And I mean, so the price of Ethereum is down 50%, but the price of gas is down way more.
Yeah. I guess my understanding is that once the price starts going way up, there's a bot war of trying to get ahead of and it's just gas fees just go insane from that. And I'm hoping that ETH 2.0 kind of solves a lot of that and like de-incentivizes the like bot wars to try to like just keep the fees going way up. So are we in alt season right now? Do you think we're gonna see a more bullish market like leading to the end of the year? Are we in bearish times right now? What are your thoughts on the market?
Yeah, so I don't base anything off of technical analysis because I don't read charts like that. But
yeah, same. I don't either. Yeah, I hate technical analysis.
But so I did learn, really early on to, instead of like trying to read charts, because I'm a sociologist, but so instead of analyzing behavior through charts and numbers, to actually analyze behavior the way that I was taught to analyze behavior, like watching people. And so based on behaviors, I kind of think we're going either like we're going into a bear market. That's my belief.
Okay. Yeah, I subscribe pretty heavily to the halving theory for Bitcoin. Again, I'm not like, I don't like technical analysis, but I would say when it comes to like the Bitcoin halvings, that's not really technical analysis so much as like an objective thing where the inflation is halving. So like obviously there's going to be some result out of that. So I lean pretty heavily towards that having a pretty big impact on the price of Bitcoin, but fingers crossed, we will see. I think we're going to be bullish near the end of the year and then see like a crazy crash, but we will see for sure.
That's another possibility that I've like considered, like, oh, maybe we're just having like a bearish, summer, and then and then like October, November, December, we see like 2017 kind of movement, and then it's like, done. But like all that said, like I'm completely prepared with my stable coin positions for this to have been the end, just in case, because I lived all the way through a bear market without having taken any profits, and I'm never doing it again.
Yeah. I mean, I was unfortunate enough to first get into Bitcoin at the peak of 2017, 2018 time. And then I basically bought it. And then like a week or two later, it crashed. So that was not a good situation for me. But I realized I wasn't the greatest at investing, but that's what kind of started off my whole journey into crypto, and learned a lot over that bear market for sure. So what are your thoughts on crypto maximalists and like communities that are just, this is the only coin, every other coin is a scam, or, like just super aggressive, toxic communities around coins being criticized, or, what have you?
So I think that maximalism is the biggest threat to any coin or token, and that there can possibly be, and not because of like opposition and war, but like because when you become so close-minded to the possibility of anything else, even if your asset is the best thing on the market, then you alienate the communities and people who support other tokens. So if you're like, no, if it's not this, if it's not Bitcoin, it's a shit coin. Like, look at how many people hate Bitcoin because of the toxicity that comes from from Bitcoin maximalism. Just look at that, just really, really, and beyond that, look at like the gains that real maxis are missing out on and advising other people to miss out on. Like, that's disgusting. I think that it's a threat for several reasons. And if you want to be a maximalist with your own assets, like, and you're cool with other people doing what they want with theirs, I have no issue with that. If you want to be a maximalist to the point where you can't have conversations on stream with people who are part of other communities, can't maintain friendships with people who support other assets, that's a major threat, because whether you think that you want or need other people or not, you do. Because you need new capital for your asset to continue appreciating. And if everyone hates you because you're just so maxi that it like pushes people away, that's super damaging.
Yeah, and that's a good point, especially with coins that are inflating a lot. they absolutely need new investors like daily. So they really can't afford to even be like, toxic about those things. And I think that's a great point where it's like, someone's like, oh, like, what do you hold? And it's like, oh, I hold this. It's like, well, I like the first four, but because you have that last coin, like, you're not a good investor and everything you say is wrong. And it's like, but like, they're supporting you like most of the way through. So yeah, I think a lot of crypto maximalists are shooting themselves and their community in the foot by like being so aggressive about that. And I think it's pretty obvious because you can look at other things like politics, religion. If you can't be friends with the other side or just have rational conversations, then obviously that just leads to terrible, terrible things. So
I mean, it's like, it's like religious extremism or, I mean, and really like in some real ways, like I've been denied work because I've worked for, like I've, written for all 10 of the top crypto, like I've written for publications that were funded by all of them. And like, there have been times when I have been denied work because I, have supported something on social media or because I wrote an article for CoinGeek.
wow.
And I think that it's going to be, something like, nationalism or racism someday where like, you can't discriminate against people based on previous work that, previous positions in cryptocurrency. I don't know if that'll like be a rule, but I mean, it's just absurd that that's a thing.
Yeah, because I feel like you don't really have that with like stock investing. Like, I mean, maybe a little bit with like, GameStop and AMC and stuff. But for the general market, it's very like no one's really like worried about if you invest in multiple things or anything like that. So I find it very interesting how tribal the crypto community is compared to the stock community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on all of the Bitcoin energy, either if you think it's either FUD or if it's accurate? What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I don't like know enough to like really refute the point, but it makes sense to me that it would be extremely wasteful. That said, like I could see saying, oh, Bitcoin is still better than our existing system because how much energy and time and everything goes into the current asset, the current transfer of assets using Swift. I mean, like that makes sense. You're like, okay, well, it's better than what we've, than the existing financial system. Fine. But it's not better than some options that we already have available that don't require, mining, that don't require that kind of energy consumption. I just don't see how it's even arguable that there are systems that are better than proof of work in terms of the amount of energy expenditure.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's 100% like true. But typically what I point to is that like the banking system is approximately, at least from a 2019 report from, I want to say CoinShares. I don't know if that's the actual one. I'll have to double check, and I'll put it in the description. But it said that the banking system uses about 650 times the amount of energy that Bitcoin uses. But you have to consider to send money across the country, or I mean to other countries across the world, very, very cumbersome. I can't go to the bank after 8 p.m. on holidays, on the weekend. So it's not even open half the time. And it's using 650 times the energy of Bitcoin. Mind you, I would compare Bitcoin to gold, not to cash. And I would look at something more like Dash or Bitcoin Cash or something if I wanted to compare those systems. But even if you compare to gold mining, which is 100% non-renewable, by the way. It's like all just diesel and like, large machines. And gold mining is still like 250x more energy consumption than Bitcoin. So, it's like at some point you've got to be like, okay, one of these is more beneficial than the other. Can I bring a bunch of gold on the plane? Can I send the gold across the world? Not really. So, there's all these different benefits. And that's the way that I kind of look at it. But I obviously see that like Bitcoin can be improved and there's things that are more environmentally friendly than Bitcoin for sure. What are your thoughts on Doge?
I'm really glad that a lot of people made a ton of money. And, like for those people who haven't made a ton of money yet, I hope that you do. I don't have any because I didn't have any before that huge run up. So like, I don't hate it, you know, like I'm glad that people made money, right? Like whatever. I wasn't gonna buy it, you know, I'm not gonna buy it now. And and I don't know. I don't have like it's a meme, right? Like, but I don't know. There are people who really, really love it. It does have its strong community. Potentially, you know, can see the value in it. I know that like Doge is one of the only cryptocurrencies, at least prior to this cycle, that didn't have like a really fanatical maximalist tribal perspective. And they were just like, yeah, we're Doge. Like, we don't care. Like what you want, you know, like I like that. I think that that's kind of cool. But I think that actually that may have changed now because there are like Doge maximalists and
Yeah. I mean, Elon recruited an army, so
yeah.
I mean, my 2 cents on Doge is that the only use case for Doge currently is as cash, but it's like 40x the fees of like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Dash. So I would just say like not really a good use case comparison. If you were like, do you want to spend fees or not spend fees? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, anyone who invested, like, congrats, because I was very surprised to see it do what it did. And unfortunately for me, I had like $300 worth of Doge like 3 years ago, but I was on Cryptopia because it was like a base trading pair on Cryptopia. And then Cryptopia got shut down, or it was a scam or whatever it was. And I lost all that. But at the peak, that was worth like $100,000 or something. And I'm just like, wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure many people have stories like that in crypto. So.
Yeah, I mean, just look at all the stories of people who like had Bitcoin but didn't write down their private keys or seed phrase, and or lost their device, or sold their device with that window and it wasn't worth anything, and then we're like, oh, that's millions of dollars.
Yeah. So I guess everyone's got one of those stories in the chamber, but you live and you learn, and crypto's getting easier, so people can avoid certain mistakes like those, and a lot of it comes back to education, I would say. What are some like useful things in crypto that you think are making it easier for new people to get in? Just to give you a quick example of what I'm talking about, like for example, like Unstoppable Domains or Ethereum name service, they have, .eth or .crypto addresses where you can just send crypto to like a word address. Like for me, like scottcbusiness.eth, much easier to say, remember, write down, whatever, rather than like a crazy long address. So that's making it easier for people to not send to the wrong address or, have an error there, and just making it faster and easier. What are some things that you use or know of or want to shout out that do something similar?
Yeah, I mean, I think like FIO does something similar. Maybe it's like FIO. Yeah. So it's like that, where you can have a custom, like I don't have one, but I could have like Nerd Girl, .eth, and like that would be the easiest thing to do. I remember in 2017 there was like the Ethereum name service, but you had to bid on the names, and and then like all the auctions got all messed up, and now it's definitely easier. So
yeah, because I think originally it was like before they released all of them, they were trying to let people like bid because people want to get Kanye West and whatever. Now it's much more reasonable. So I've got my .eth address and my .crypto address, and I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't think a lot of people like use that yet, but I think in the future it'll just make it so easier for newcomers for sure. So are there any coins or projects or anything that you want to give a shout out to, or give them a little bit of clout?
I mean, I definitely want people to know that when Pulse Chain launches, which we don't know when it's going to be, right? But like some allegedly very soon. So when it launches, you're going to get an airdrop copy of everything that you hold in a self-custodial wallet that's an Ethereum token. You'll get a copy of it on Pulse Chain. That includes stablecoins. We don't know what's going to happen to if there'll be price parity or like that's all speculation, but I mean, almost certainly at some point those tokens will have value. So I don't want to like try to convince people to buy anything, but you do have, I think, something like 30 days after the airdrop to claim those tokens or they're gone forever. So I want people to know that they can free claim tokens that may or may not have value someday, and that they should plan to have those assets in self-custodial wallets.
Yeah, because if you were a person that traded on Uniswap and then you missed the uni claim, those people were probably kicking themselves after because it went to a ridiculous price. So, I mean, hey, if it's free, there's no reason why you shouldn't claim it. So, yeah, definitely go and do that. And I'll definitely check it out too, because I don't shy away from free coins either.
Right? Yeah. Why would you? It's just silly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was everything that I had in terms of like questions and stuff. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think we wanted to talk about like what it's like in cryptocurrency when you have an unpopular opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, because we both have some fairly unpopular opinions. Like, I'm blocked by people who I've never had conversations with.
Yeah. I saw that the other day, and I was like, yeah, I have the exact same thing where I'm like I was tagged with a bunch of crypto influencers, and I was like, oh, like I'll follow them, and then like two of them blocked me or something, and I was like, I've never seen this person in my life, or interacted with them or anything. So it's always weird when you get that.
Yeah, I mean, because it was really weird. Like, not someone, like, I mean, so sometimes I'm blocked by, like, I don't know, Andreas Antonopoulos, right? Like, he has me blocked. And I'm like, why am I blocked? And I'm like, oh, I'm blocked for a couple of reasons. Like, one, Hex, right? Because he hates shillers. And then two, because I think the post that got me blocked was one that we were both tagged in, or one that he was tagged in, that was like, best, sexy Hex, video or, like meme or whatever, like sexy Hex posts. And so I made like a TikTok where I'm like in a bikini and like just saying weird things about Hex. And so that's why he has me blocked. But I'm like, oh, like at least I know why I'm blocked there, because he also hates, women who use or dislikes the practice of using your body for, I don't know, financial gain or something, but something like that. So like, at least I know. But where it was like the other day where you saw, it's like the founder of MetaMask has me blocked, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's so weird. And it's not like you're against MetaMask or anything, right?
No, I love MetaMask. I use it all the time.
Yeah, same. So it's like, it's always weird when you get situations like that. I mean, I'm not blocked by the founder of MetaMask, at least I don't think, or the CEO rather.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But yeah, it's always weird when it's like people will just like block you because they just want to avoid having that conversation, or even just like seeing it. It's like, there is a mute button, guys. Like, you don't have to block people from existence. But yeah, I always found that so interesting. I mean, for me, it's just like, I mentioned some casual criticism, and that whole community just like comes down on me. Like, recently it was Twetch, where I was like, people don't want to pay money to post a tweet, like a Twitter post or whatever. Like, it's the same thing, but you pay for everything. So it's like, you follow someone, that's 10 cents. You post a post, that's 50 cents. And you run out of the starter money in like 30 seconds. So I was like, why would anyone pay for this? Like, there's Twitter, there's all these things. I've
used Twetch. I locked myself out of the account, cannot remember the password, did not like write down the seed phrase, like it's gone. But my experience on Twitch was that like, I never had to buy more, because I always got more back than what it cost me to Twitch. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really, but I get the argument though, that like, if you really want to have a productive social media channel where people aren't just like shit posting, where people are like really thoughtful about what comes out of their mouths or their hands, you have to charge them at least some nominal fee.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. But realistically, at the end of the day, I mean, this is just my approach to crypto social in general. I've always said if the average person using Twitter is not going to switch, then it's probably not going to work. Because normally it's like, hey, use Hive, make money. It's really hard to pitch someone like, hey, there won't be like spam, but like pay us. And it's like, well, you know, it's hard to get the average person to be like, I want to start spending more money than I am right now, because who has extra money to just like spend on a social platform? But my point was that
fewer people, that reaches a smaller audience.
Yeah, exactly. But my original point was just that I pointed that out on Twitter, and the Twetch official account was just like trolling the shit out of me. Like, they're like, F you, like, get everyone against this guy. Like, and they were posting with their official account on my thing, and they're like, everyone come get this guy. Like, we hate this person. And I was like, this is a reasonable criticism. You guys could have just like not responded or just like said something like reasonable. But it always baffles me when it's like you get the actual official account and they're just like shit posting and just like doing all this stuff. And it's like, no chill at all. And yeah, I just find that so interesting. Like, not even just like, you know, empowered community members, but the actual top people, the official accounts, everything. And they're just like, they don't even care. And they're ready to just go to war with anyone who says anything bad about them.
All right. So I know who runs that official account. And so, you know, Yeezy, like, we're going to have to clip this. So Yeezy, like, you gotta have a conversation, explain, you know? There's no reason to attack when people offer criticism. You can like discuss and learn from each other, grow together.
Yeah, because everyone was like, they were like calling me like a socialist and a Marxist because I don't want to have to pay for social media posts and stuff. And I was like, I don't know, guys, come on. Like, most people in crypto are capitalists, so like trying to just, I don't know. It's a funny situation when you get into conversations like that. But I do think it's important to still call those things out, because with exactly what we're talking about now happening to a lot of people, or people seeing that, they're too afraid to like say something about an account or just to make a casual criticism of a company like Twetch or whatever, because then you've got all this like hate coming your way, especially if you're just a regular person and not an influencer who has like, you know, some like we're sort of used to that, or we've dealt with that, and people can get super overwhelmed and like actually have like, you know, like mental health problems because of stuff like that. So it's actually a pretty big deal when these communities are so like aggressive and toxic towards any kind of criticism, or even just like people who are not interested in that crypto, for example.
Totally. Like, I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier about like maximalism being a major threat to the currency, you know, to the community itself. And like, I have to admit, like, I totally like sicked the Hex Army on someone the other day, but the person attacked me. Like, they were saying like the meanest stuff ever to me, and it was like intentionally trying to hurt me, and they were effective, and I was like, annihilate this guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like, if you're gonna throw shade, shade's probably gonna come back. So yeah, I mean, like, toxicity breeds toxicity, and it's like, yeah, I mean, as long as you just come to the conversation calm, collected, reasonable, you know, doesn't have to be any problems. Like, I was just like talking about BitClout the other day, since I knew that they were going to list today. So I had all these people like, oh, screw you, you're wrong, you're dumb, you don't know anything, you haven't done any research. And then there was like one person who were like, well, no, like, I actually like Scott, but I don't think he's right about BitClout, but like, you know, chill people. And I was like, oh, okay, one reasonable person on the BitClout team. But it's like, yeah, it's always nice to see that there's reasonable people trying to, like, you know, keep things a little reasonable within various communities. But
like, there's hope for them yet, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there is hope, but you're definitely right. I think it's definitely one of the biggest threats for crypto, that just like pushing people away, and as we said, like, it's the same with everything else, with politics, with religion, with whatever. It's going to apply the same to crypto. And if people can't see that, then it's going to be the same result, where it's just like, you know, people just cannot agree at all, and they'll just completely have all these echo chambers and no one's, working together or having interoperable blockchains and things. And that's what we need more of. So, yeah, absolutely. Less maximalism and more, discussion, education, awareness.
And like, I'm fine with people only holding one asset, like, especially if people are like, I just don't know enough about other things. And like, I'm confident in the long-term, projections of this asset. Like, cool. You only want to hold one asset. I got no problem with that whatsoever. But when you start like believing that you can jump all over other people for holding other assets or for not holding your favorite, or that you can't be friends with people who, think anything different, that's when it's a problem.
Yeah, and people need to have less of a zero sum game attitude towards this, because, crypto can be abundant aside from all these shit coins that are a little too abundant. But crypto can be about abundance and not about like scarcity, except for when we want it to be about scarcity, like Bitcoin, etc. So yeah, people should really consider other opinions, and I'm excited to dive into Hex with you on your show after I actually brush up on everything, because I want to make sure I remember everything and I know what I'm talking about, because it's definitely been a while, but I'll have to brush up on Hex. But I mean, cool. Congrats though, because I've seen that it's been going up a lot, so I mean, that's good. Yeah,
the returns have been amazing. Like the staking rewards have been like great. I like you don't have to time lock it. You can just hold it like liquid so that you could sell whenever you want. But I like that, a really, really small amount of money that someone gave me, a year ago is like that I staked for my daughter. I'm like, my daughter's never going to be a wage slave. Like, that's cool, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, like, full disclosure, like, I did buy Hex a long time ago, and then I sold it after it like 5x'd. So I still made like a really good profit, but I always did find it funny when people would comment on my article and they're like, well, you're just mad that you like didn't get like 50x or whatever. I'm like, I mean, I sold it at the all-time high at the time, so I couldn't have known that it was going to go down or up and then get upset about that in the future. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything. Where can everyone go to learn more about you, about your channel, about what you're up to? Yeah, so
I on Twitter and like across social media, I'm nerdgirl007 with no vowels. So that's also my YouTube channel, nerdgirl007. And then I host a show on a network. It's like a crypto YouTube network. The name of the channel is Discourse Syndicate. The name of my show is Building Bridges, and it's about establishing relationships between communities.
Which is what we need more of. Awesome. All right, everyone, go and check out her channels. Check out all the stuff she just mentioned. I'll make sure to include all that stuff in the description below. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to you coming on.